Real family. Dear Deb, is your dad a real dad, Mom? Patrick stood beside me in front of the sink in the thimble-sized bathroom. He leaned over the counter and pressed his nose against the mirror. Yes, he's a real dad. I smiled at him in the mirror, batting my eyelashes to check if my mascara had set. I had applied waterproof just in case tears ambushed me when I saw him. He's my dad, honey. My sons knew my sisters and my mom, who had visited us in Minnesota over the years, but they had never met my father. That fall, Dad had decided it was time to meet his grandsons. Michael and Patrick were 11 and 8 and didn't know much about him other than his name was Donald, his high school friends called him Ducky, and he lived in Ohio. There had been promises to visit over the years, but we never made it happen. The letters and cards I sent with school pictures and family photos were as close as my dad wanted to be to me. Beyond updating my address book, I didn't do much to nurture a relationship with him either. He was my real dad, but we hadn't had a real relationship since I left home in my early 20s. When I announced his visit, Michael and Patrick acted like Christmas was on its way instead of my dad. They had a grandfather. They loved the mystery of the stranger who fathered me suddenly appearing at our doorstep. Dad had aged well. He was more handsome than in the 70s, when people mistook him for Sonny Bono. His hair was peppered with white, but thick and lush as a rich carpet. He wore a soft cream V-neck sweater with a pink-colored shirt underneath and gray flannel pants. No wonder his friends called him Dapper Don. The boys had been playing capture the flag in the yard, waiting for his arrival. By the time they tumbled into the kitchen, Patrick's new khaki pants were covered in grass stains, and Michael's pale blue button-down shirt was flecked with prickly pine needles. Their eyes gleamed as they stood in front of us with their eager smiles. I wanted to throw my arms around them and exclaim, "Look, Daddy, look what I made. Aren't they beautiful?" But I stopped myself. I wasn't going to let Dad see how much I cared about him being proud of me. After a 20-year absence in my life, I was surprised I cared at all. I stood in between Michael and Patrick and draped an arm over each of their shoulders. "Dad, this is Michael, and this is Patrick." Michael stretched his arm out to take my father's hand. "Hi, Grandpa, I'm Michael," he chirped. I thought my heart would burst out of my chest like a cartoon rocket. "Oh, my gosh, oh, my." Dad shook Michael's hand and stepped back. He cleared his throat, coughed, and wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. He looks like me. He could have been my twin." Dad held his palm against his heart and sat at the kitchen table. He couldn't stop staring at Michael. "It's uncanny," he said, shaking his head back and forth. "I just can't believe the resemblance." Michael sat facing him. "You looked like me when you were 11, Grandpa?" "I sure did, pal. I'm going to send you a picture of me in grade school so you can see for yourself." Dad leaned back and placed his hands flat on the table. Michael imitated him, peering over his own hands to see if their hands looked alike too. I felt a curtain lift as I remembered moments of my childhood. Dad's strong, masculine hands, always immaculate, nails trimmed evenly. Hands that swung me in circles playing airplane. Hands that showed me how to catch a ball. Hands that clapped the loudest when I bowed at the curtain calls of my high school plays. I felt a powerful urge to rush over and stand between my son and father at the table. My desire to grab both of their hands and hang on made me feel like I was being carried by a current strong enough to launch me over a waterfall. I yearned to know what it would feel like to touch them both at the same time, to be connected and to feel what other families felt, families who celebrated holidays together, families who learned forgiveness and who were unafraid of their pasts. But I didn't move. A nerve twitched under my eye. I held my finger on the pulse until it stopped. Patrick joined them at the table. "I'm glad you're here, Grandpa." He pulled on his wrist like he was playing tug-of-war with his arms. "Hey, Grandpa," Michael asked, "I've got a question for you." Okay, kiddo, Dad answered. He leaned forward. Shoot. How come it took you so long to meet us? I'm 11 now, you know. He picked a pine needle off his sleeve and flicked it on the floor. Well, now, I guess that's the million-dollar question, Michael. Dad heaved a great sigh and leaned back. It's a very good question, Michael. Very good. He exhaled a whistle with no tune and looked at me for help. I shrugged my shoulders. What could I say to help him when I didn't know why he wasn't in my life? I had asked him many times to come to Minnesota to meet my sons, but it had been his choice to stay away. Grandpa, Michael tapped Dad's hand with his forefinger. Why didn't you come here before? The truth is, Dad cleared his throat. The truth is, I don't have an answer to that, Michael. I really don't know why it has taken me so long to come here and meet you. He hung his head low and stared at his lap. Patrick and Michael studied him, the father of my childhood, who was once a boy who looked like them. Dad peered up at them, his eyes misted. But now that I'm here, I'm hoping I can be part of your family. He grinned a boyish grin. Starting right now, right here, if you'll let me. Michael stood up and beamed. You are our family, Grandpa. Geez, you're Mom's dad. Yeah, Patrick echoed. You're our Mom's dad. You're family already. They threw themselves on him and hugged him shamelessly. They loved him because he was family, and they loved him because he was there. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew chapter 6, verse 21.